The 69th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor is on December 7, 2010. Many will come together in honor of those suffering on that day in 1941. It was a quiet Sunday that President Franklin Roosevelt called a date that which will live in infamy. On December 8th, the nation was gathered around its radios to hear President Roosevelt deliver his Day of Infamy speech. That very same day, Congress declared war on Japan. Flags will fly at half-mast and memorial services will take place around the United States as Americans honor those who fought and died at Pearl Harbor 69 years ago today. Hundreds of Japanese naval planes descended on the American naval base shortly before 8 a.m. on December 7, 1941. In just about 2 hours, the attack had left more than 2,000 American soldiers and sailors dead, another 1,000 wounded, and destroyed hundreds of airplanes and nearly 20 American naval vessels, including 8 battleships. This is according to Pearl Harbor statistics. Today I would like you to join me in paying tribute to the Pearl Harbor victims and their families for providing their service to protect American citizens and in honor of their bravery on that unfortunate day. The soldiers and their families affected by the attack on Pearl Harbor were included in not only a personal and destructive first-hand assault, but ultimately witnessed the turning point for the U.S. in means of World War II. Pearl Harbor was the reason the U.S. became a part of World War II. It was not an easy attack. Many people died and more were injured. Despite the rapid recovery for the U.S. after the destructive attack, the memory still lives on. The loss connected Americans in this time period and made a strong national unity to defend and protect. The slogan, "Remember Pearl Harbor," mobilized a nation and helped awaken the mighty war machine and economic engine that is America. Navy veteran Louis Contour was a young sailor standing watch on the quarterdeck of the USS Arizona when Japanese bombers swarmed the skies and attacked the U.S. Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor. Within minutes that Sunday morning, the Arizona itself had exploded in flames. Contour was among the fortunate few hundred men to get off alive as a battleship crumpled and sank. The loss of life aboard the Arizona accounted for nearly half of the almost 2,400 deaths at Pearl Harbor. Every year it brings back big memories, quoted by Contour, of Grass Valley, California. We look at the ones still aboard the ship out there as the heroes. We're the lucky ones. We came home, got married, had kids, and now have grandkids. They're the ones still there. This was quoted from MSNBC Pearl Harbor Memorial Services. Many war heroes and families of those who survived still live today with the memory of Pearl Harbor and the beginning of World War II in their minds. The United States stood firm in what they believed in, and when it was time to step in the line of duty, the soldiers were ready. Those on the front line of the attacks didn't make it to tell their story. Their story is being told again and again and being replayed in the minds of their loved ones, fellow soldiers, and friends. Their honor in upholding a civil promise and protecting the American citizens back home is a vow of the utmost importance. The history and story is all that remains, but the legacy of these soldiers, men, and women will continue to spread. The next quote is from an eyewitness testimony from a man named George Frainer, who survived the attack on the USS Arizona. Quote, "At that moment I looked up and I could see a small point of light through the smoke. It gave me the strength to go on. After what seemed to me like an eternity, I reached the deck grasping and choking. I lay down for a few moments. The warm Hawaiian air filled my lungs and cleared my head. I glanced over to the forward end of the ship to see nothing but a giant wall of flame and smoke. Behind me, a Marine lay dead on the deck, his body split in two. I began to realize there were dead men all around me. Some men were burning, wandering aimlessly. I made my way to the side of the ship, which by this time was sinking fast, and jumped off the fantail. The shoreline of Ford Island was only a short distance. After swimming to the shore, I was then taken to the Naval Air Station." George Frainer served aboard the USS Arizona, USS Lexington, USS Nassau. His medals include the American Defense with Star, Asiatic Pacific with 4 stars, American Area, Victory, and Good Conduct. Join me today in remembering those who were wounded and killed in the line of duty at Pearl Harbor. The attacks happened 69 years ago, yet for many, like veteran Louis Contour, the memory lasts forever. The bravery that the men and women displayed during the attacks must also be acknowledged. The Japanese planned the attacks on a Sunday to favor their objective. Since it was a Sunday, many soldiers were still sleeping in the early morning hours. This added to the already unknown assault that was about to occur. There were a total of 2,403 people killed, and 68 of those were civilians. A total of 1,178 people were wounded. The men and women included in the battle that day should be honored for their bravery and courage in the state of war. The Japanese strategically planned the attack and executed it with accuracy. However, their ultimate goal was abolished by the U.S., the very people they chose to attack on December 7, 1941. It is sad to know that the honored veterans of Pearl Harbor had to face the wrath of the Japanese attack and witness the murder of numerous people and the destruction of U.S. Navy ships. It was a sad day in history, yet one that will be remembered forever because of the significance that it holds. Join me today in acknowledging those who were killed, wounded, or affected in any way by the attack on Pearl Harbor. Not only because it is the anniversary, but because they deserve it. We should highly regard their acts of honor and bravery. To the Pearl Harbor veterans and their families, those who live today to remember, and those whose memories live on, America salutes. Thank you all for listening.